right, welcome back to Smoke and Spill. Your boy Kaleo. There's my man Big Mike. And you may be wondering, hey, these guys are wearing the same thing in the last episode. But guess what? We can do that. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Forget the outfits. We're here to talk. Well, we'll get to what we're about to talk about. Let's start with Mike. What are you smoking on tonight?
Oh man, tonight, man, I have that Viva La Horchata from Azure. This is only the second Azure brand that I've smoked. The first being the cinnamon cookies. So this one
Ooh,
actually kind of reminds me of cinnamon cookies a little bit because if you've had horchata, horchata is a plant-based drink based off of rice and cinnamon. So it's
yep.
kind of got the same elements in it. It smokes really good, man, but I think I prefer the cinnamon cookies a little bit better, man.
How often do you change out coals when you smoke?
I mean, typically I give it between an hour and 90 minutes per session. So after that, I'll switch it out. I'll redo the whole thing, man. I'll pour out the water, take out the coals, of course, take out the shisha.
Hmm.
Basically, just start all over.
How many coals? Okay, so do you use round or you use the squares?
I use a square. I use a square coconaras.
Coconut.
Those are like my go-to.
Yeah.
I used to do like the quick lights and all that back in the day, but the coconut coals, man, that's for me. That everyone has their own, way of
Hmm.
doing things, man. But that's kind of like my go-to, and you know, I pretty much keep it stocked, man, full of coconaras.
So yeah, I used to start out with the Three Kings. I think a lot of people's starter coals, and a lot of um, like some of the hookah spots do that because it's a cheaper coal. You can probably buy it easier in mass right quantities.
Right.
But I'm a huge fan of the square coals, the coconuts because they a lot cleaner burn. They're a bitch to heat up. You're definitely gonna need some heat behind that. My torch doesn't even get those. I had to buy a burner to get them, but once they're lit, I mean, it's a nice smooth burn, like you said. But I did find these pharaohs. Pharaohs is a round coal, but it's also a coconut coal.
Hmm.
So and it's a lot easier to burn. So in a quick sesh, this is what I'll use. But they got that little hole in the middle,
Right.
so the burn is just a whole lot better than anything you would get like a Three Kings. But look, I'm not gonna turn my nose up to anybody that uses Three Kings or anything else. You like what you like.
Oh yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah,
Like they say, man, plenty of ways to skin a cat, man. Plenty of ways to smoke. To get it in with your session. Whatever you work with, man. That's what
yeah,
you do, man. Um,
exactly.
but yeah, man, I'm willing to try them all, man. So I have to give that a shot, man, and see what it's
Yeah,
about.
yeah. I think I love the squares. It's just time consuming, and if I want a quick smoke, boom. But I'm still smoking the tropical mango and sweet mint by Fumari. Flavor is still good. I typically go through if I use round. I think this is the question I was getting you with. If I use round coals, I end up doing probably 2 to 3 coals before I know I'm the burnt out. Right, it's time to switch up to see shisha repack or whatever. But if I use the squares, typically go 3 at the top to get it cooking. And then I'll switch out and just end up burning 2, and then it'll still end up being like between 6 to 9 coals though because they're smaller
Hmm.
um, per bowl before I switch it out.
Right.
Yeah. So with all that, let's get to it. So we've done class act, we've done the toy, and now you and I we go way back. We are music buffs and movie buffs. And I think it's time to finally dive into the music aspect of all this and see what we can come up with. All that said, today, whenever this premieres, we are going to be reviewing Elton John's Captain Fantastic in the Brown Dirt Cowboy. Now, let me give you a little bit of background on why I chose this one in particular. I figure if we're going to start with music, why not start with, I think, from start to finish, a solid album, right? We'll get to the end when we'll figure out if you think it's a classic or if I think it's a classic. We'll just start with it's a solid album from start to finish. And I call myself a music connoisseur, and I hadn't really dove into Elton John's catalog. And I'm going to credit my mom here because she was the one who told me to dive into it, listen to it, and just so it started down a wormhole. I listened to one album. I was like, man, okay. And I knew some of Elton John stuff. I mean, everybody knows Philadelphia Freedom. Everybody knows Daniel. But the funny thing about Daniel is I didn't know that was the name of the song. I knew the lyrics. Okay.
Right.
And everybody knows what's the boom, boom, Benny and the Jets.
Yep.
Everybody knows Benny and the Jets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with this album, Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy, give you some quick background on this, and then we'll just dive in because it's a quick listen. Album is 46 minutes and 32 seconds, so quick listen, right? So the album was recorded August of 1974. So about 10 years before your boy came into this world. But it was released May 19th, 1975. Okay. So Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy is the 9th album by Elton John. This album is considered to be an autobiographical account of the early musical careers of Elton John, who, here we go, is Captain Fantastic,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and his long-term lyricist Bernie Taupin, who is the Brown Dirt Cowboy. So there's the title. There's where you get the name from. And for those who don't know, Elton John and Bernie Taupin have written together tons and tons and tons of hits. Hits. So.
Oh yeah, they've been rolling with each other since day one, man.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like Pharrell and Chad, man. When you think about it, and
they're like the perfect pair. Michael Quincy, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, like they complement each other well.
Yeah, they complement each other well, man. And you can't really have one without the other.
Right, exactly. So the album was certified gold before its release, and reached number 1 its first week of release on the Billboard 200. Now let's start with that. Sometime U.S. Billboard 200. There's so many Billboard charts, and there's so many different rating systems that Billboard puts out. I don't know which one is the one to kind of listen to because it's a top 100, top 200, top whatever, all decade. There's so many Billboard lists, it's muddied. You don't know what one gives you credibility. But
right.
I'm assuming Billboard 200 probably some credibility. It's the first ever album to achieve both honors. Sold 1.4 million copies within 4 days of its release. Now, million is that platinum? No, a million isn't platinum, is it? No.
I think it is. It is a million, right? I mean, I'm not 100% sure, so I don't want to mislead.
I should look that up. What platinum is? Okay, so 1.4 million copies within the first 4 days of its release. Now, we are in a time where streams are kind of your numbers that you have to set. And I don't think many, or if any, it's probably 95% of people who don't get a million streams this first week. Probably 1 or 2 artists. I'm gonna throw Drake in there that probably gets the million stream. Drake and Beyonce probably get the million stream club off the break.
Right.
And it stayed at top position for 7 weeks. So longevity, 7 weeks.
Wow.
Okay. So history. Let's see. So this album pretty much is, again, it talks about the early stages, the struggles that Bernie and Elton had as musician and writer. So Taupin, chronological order, Captain this album was written in chronological order. So the way the album is presented on wax, tape, whatever, is the way it was written.
Mm.
Okay. Captain Fantastic is a concept that gives autobiographical glimpse of the struggles between John and Taupin and in early stages of their music careers in London, leading up to John's eventual breakthrough in 1970. Wow. Okay. So let's start with that. I want to dive into the track list. So you've got track 1, Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy. Track 2, Tower of Babel. 3, Bitter Fingers. 4, Tell Me When the Whistle Blows. 5, Someone Saved My Life Tonight. Then it says side 2. So this is where the youngins going to get a little confused. Side 2 means at some point, if you had a tape, you had to take the tape out, turn it over, put it in, and play the other side. Because the tape wound all the way down to the point where you had to flip it and play it again. If you had a record,
yep.
Flip the record.
Yep. Same way with vinyl, man. If you have vinyl, man, you gotta stop. Take it out of the record player, flip it over, man.
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work, right?
A lot of work, man.
So, side 2, Gotta Get a Meal Ticket, Better Off Dead, Writing, We All Fall in Love Sometimes, Curtains. Then it says even bonus tracks. Like albums have bonus tracks, cassettes have bonus tracks. You had Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, One Day at a Time, and the ever so popular Philadelphia Freedom.
Yep.
So how do you want to attack this? You want to go track to track? You want to talk about what track stood out to you first? You tell me.
Well, well, 2 of my favorite tracks, man. Like as soon as I heard Tower of Babel, man, that was like my automatic favorite one. I would say that was my favorite up until I heard Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, and then that became my favorite. So
okay,
I just love between both songs. I just love like the versatility in both of those songs.
Oh my gosh!
I just love how it just kind of like it almost switches into a second song almost within itself.
Yeah, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Yep.
Yeah, and that's what I love about Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Do you know that was a Beatles track?
I did not, man. And I should, but I did not know that it was a Beatles track.
And McCartney and Lennon are actually on the track.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so if you go back and listen, you'll start to hear when it switches at the end. You'll hear them.
Damn, that's dope, man. And that's actually, I wonder if the bonus tracks were actually recorded in the same studio as the rest of the tracks, because I did a little research on the recording as well. So, like you said, it was recorded in 1974, but it was recorded in America at Caribou Ranch in Colorado.
Yep.
And so I'm kind of curious if the extra tracks are actually recorded there as well. I'm not sure if there's probably some information on that somewhere, but the recording studio itself was later damaged in a fire in 1985, and it was actually never used again after that. So I thought that was kind of interesting, because back then, man, whenever a big artist came out with with an album, it was either recorded in LA or London or New York, but to hear about it just being recorded in almost like a random studio in Colorado was pretty much unheard of back then.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think I know when I first heard Tower of Babel, I was blown away. Like, this was easily like, when we're talking about. So let me paint the picture. I'm mid-pandemic diving into new music because there's nothing else to do in the house, like going anywhere, and there's nothing but tons and tons of music that I need to discover. And Tower of Babel was one of the songs that put me in a different mindset during the pandemic. From just the opening notes, where it's just piano and cymbals and him just giving you just a couple words, snow, all that. Then you hear it come in, and then just the drums kicking. Like, wow, like wait a minute. And the hook just draws you in. So
It's like nothing you've ever heard of. It's just, I mean, I could try to, just picture myself listening to that in that era, and it was just really nothing else that was really up on that same level back then.
right.
And from my understanding, Elton John and his crew, his sound crew, had a special sound crew just for this album. Man, they actually spent more time on this than they had previous albums, and it shows, man. In the quality of work that actually came out of the final product.
Yep. So let's dive into the track. So Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy, track 1. This is the first track you hear, and so there weren't many intros on albums back then. But so again, the first track, this is the first track you hear. This is going to set the tone of the album, and to me, it did not disappoint because it starts off with what feels like a country record, right? Feels like it's definitely acoustic guitar, and it really feels like I'm on a ranch. It just gives me a ranch feel. I'm on a horse, and that's what happens. But then a rock element kicks in, and the guitar just gets serious. The tone picks up, and Elton is just rocking with this, right? So to me, I feel like this was like the perfect opening track to this album. It really set the tone. And if I had to present this album to you and tell you that track 1 is going to define your experience for this album, I would tell you this is it. I would track 1 is going to set the tone. Right. So if I told you that after listening to it, would you agree or disagree?
I would definitely agree, man, because I think the track 1 it's a perfect title track because it even sets the mood for the album cover itself. If you look at the album cover, man, it kind of like explains everything just on that one song alone, and it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the songs going forward. Yeah, man, I would definitely agree, man. If you listen to this for the first time, you definitely get a feel for what the rest of the album is going to be like just by listening to that one track.
Right. Track 1 is versatile. It gives you a couple of different melodic tones in it, and you're like, wow, okay. You already know how we feel about track 2, Tower of Babel. Track 3, Bitter Fingers. So, again, another heavy piano kind of tune, and then it picks up. Like it's just it feels like a lot of these tracks start off with one melody, like you said, and it evolves into something else.
Right.
And this is full on like rock at this point. Like, he's at the piano, him and the band are just rocking. Bitter Fingers. Apparently, if I looked up Bitter Fingers, from what I've read, a couple of different sources saying that this song was about the difficulty they had with writing.
Mm-hmm.
Just not being able to catch on by writing different tunes, and they were bitter in their fingers, so they were upset at this point. So, thoughts on Bitter Fingers? Anything that stood out about this track to you?
Yeah, I think Bitter Fingers was probably if you had to, I guess, put like a genre on that one, that was one of the, I guess, like kind of like popish, if you want to put it that way. Especially when you're comparing it to the title track, which kind of gave like country type vibes to it. So yeah, I think that one kind of shows the versatility. Like, hey, we can go from country to pop. But also, like you said, it just goes into a better explanation of trying to put the album together in general, and trying to get probably getting personalities together all in one place, in order to make it work. And it's a lot of, I think this album, at the end of the day, it just shows like a lot of emotion.
Yep.
Was put in. I guess you said it was number 9 in the album list, so it's probably explaining all the emotion and work up and dealing with trying to stay relevant as an artist.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
I've listened to listen to the albums leading up to this. You can tell when the artist is getting ready to peak. Like the album prior to this was damn it, I knew it. But the album prior to this was good. But you can tell he was getting ready to peak. Like he was getting ready to blow. Like the next album was gonna be the one. And this was and this meaning this was the next album.
right.
And so then you have Tell Me When the Whistle Blows. Now, I think it's a super funky track. Real funky. And it's even with it, like Elton has a very unique voice, right? And
Yeah,
I've heard him sing in a couple different tones. This one just it feels like uh, it's really really funky and it's soulful. And I mean, just some of the lyrics that they're using in this track to me, this is one of the more soulful tracks. Like again, the other ones are funky, like but this one is it's got a like a soulful, like the brothers are listening to this track like when it came out, kind of thing.
definitely. And I ain't gonna lie, man. Whenever I listen to like an artist who isn't really known for like soulful type tracks, man, I tend to skim through it first before I listen to the whole thing to see if there are any tracks like that,
Uh-huh.
And I definitely agree, man. Once I got to that one, man, I was like, okay, yeah. So he's definitely showing a little bit of soulful. He was trying
Yeah.
to reach out to all audiences on the album, man. So
Right. Right.
he's
That's
gonna definitely
crazy.
check it out, man. But like I said, man, as far as production, man, you know what I'm saying? I had to go with Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds as far as like my overall, just because, man, it was such
Yeah.
a track, man. We're gonna get
Absolutely.
there.
Absolutely. So track 5, Someone Saved My Life Tonight,
Mhm.
is probably the most personal record on this album for Elton. And for those who don't know, it's a deep record. It's really, really, I mean, the song itself is good.
Mhm.
But like the meaning behind Someone Saved My Life Tonight was the only single released from the album. Only single, wow. And it reached number 4 on the pop singles chart. But it's semi autobiographical story about John's um, disastrous engagement to Linda Woodrow. Let me repeat that. Autobiographical story about John's disastrous engagement to Linda Woodrow and his related 1968 suicide attempt. The someone refers to Long John Baldry, who convinced him to break off the engagement rather than ruin his music career for an unhappy marriage. It was viewed by Rolling Stones writer John Landau as the best track on the album. As long as Elton John can bring forth one performance per album, uh, in the order of Someone Saved My Life Tonight, his chances remain that he's going to become a great entertainer. Blah blah blah. So, Someone Saved My Life Tonight is based on his suicide attempt because I think the marriage was what was needed for the public, perhaps because we know Elton John is out. He's gay. Everybody knows Elton John is gay. But I think this was back then where it wasn't spoke upon. Like this wasn't. Record labels didn't probably want to deal with this, so
Right.
they proposed a fake marriage just to get him over to the point where he was unhappy and attempted suicide. So it's a deep record. Like, did you know that before I said that?
I did not. I didn't know the backstory behind it, man. But I know that I did read that that was the only single that was released on this album,
Which is
and
crazy.
it is crazy, man, considering how good the album the album is. But it is. I mean, it's a solid track, man, and it's a favorite track of many people, and I can definitely see why, man. Especially when you do know the backstory behind it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a dope track, man. Well written. Um, I knew that that was like the personal favorite of this album by many people, and that's why I wanted to dig deeper and to explore the other songs on
Yeah.
here, just to see, what the other songs had to offer.
Right. Right. Um, and it's funny too. Like some of these lyrics we hear, a lot of people when we hear artists sing, we always relate that the song is always about the artist, right? But we got to realize that some of these artists are singing other people's words. So this song, I'm singing these words, and you're feeling every single aspect of this song. Like I'm hitting every note. You really believe you feel this song. And how great of an artist are you for you to feel this song that I'm singing and I'm giving you this emotion, but it's somebody else's story.
It's yeah, man.
That's
It's that tells you, man, like how great music is, man. I mean,
oh
it
my
can hit people on so many
right.
levels like that, man.
And
It's
how great of like the artistry for you to believe that. Like you have
Mhm.
to dive deep into that character. So I don't know if you knew this, and this song is not on this album, but Tiny Dancer, another big record for Elton and Bernie. Tiny Dancer is about Bernie's wife, but Elton kills that song. It's just wow. Okay, so the next track, "Gotta Get a Meal Ticket." Uh, the title alone tells you. It's like I feel like "Gotta Get a Meal Ticket" is like I need a hit. I need. Something's got to feed me, feed my family. I'm desperately searching for a hit, and it's a fast paced song. It's kind of rockish. To where like it feels like it's the middle of the album, right? It feels like it's from it's the turning point because "Someone Saved My Life Tonight" is a ballad. It's a hard ballad. Then we go into you flip sides. Now it's gotta
Mhm.
get a meal ticket. Like now it's like okay, I made it past that point. Now I need a hit. I gotta get this meal ticket.
Right.
So anything that stood out was that it's not my favorite track, but I'm gonna listen to it because it fits the storyline of the album.
Yeah, so yeah, like you said, it definitely has some rock elements to it.
Yeah.
I actually re-listened to that one today as I was out just running errands and stuff.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's another dope track, but I don't know where it ranks as far as like my favorites on the album,
Yeah.
but it's the whole every single track, I guess, had its own different meaning to it and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So it did, it was a dope track overall, man.
So then
Don't
we
have any
come up on the next.
that one.
Then we come up on the next two that it feels like again we're in the middle, we're kind of in the middle part of the album. Somewhat we got "Better Off Dead" and we got "Writing." Like,
Mhm.
um, to me, nothing really stands out about these tracks. I mean, they're good tracks, but nothing like really, really stands out as far as where we're trying to get to. Right.
Right.
Um, there, as I don't skip again. Still, track 7, track 8, "Better Off Dead." The right in writing,
Mhm.
good tracks. Nothing really stood out. But how about you?
Oh yeah, yeah, similar. I would say probably Better Off Dead was probably if I were to rank it, I would say that was probably my least favorite out of all the tracks. That was probably at the bottom.
Okay.
I mean, but I mean,
Right.
I'm
No.
saying that, but still saying that like all the songs were definitely well put together. So it's even though it was low on my list as far as like those particular tracks, it's still a great song overall. Just
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely. Then we get into "We All Fall in Love Sometimes." Uh, yeah, love the song. I can feel the lyrics. You can tell like where they are. Like again, chronological order where they are with making this album and where they are with their struggles in life. Um, we all fall in love sometimes. Yeah, it's good. I like it. I listened to that one a lot.
Yeah, yeah, that one. Yeah, that was another song. Definitely. I guess well put together by Elton John and Bernie.
Mm.
Which I found interesting, I guess like digging deeper into like the overall like I guess production of the album between Elton and Bernie is that like I think I mentioned the sound crew earlier. They had like a special sound crew that helped put
Yep.
this album together. A lot of them actually left after this album,
Yep.
and everyone besides really just Bernie and maybe like a couple other people. I don't know. I can't really name exactly who, but a lot of the major people though that helped with this album they left, and after that it kind of changed the whole sound of Elton going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Because I listened to his album after this album, 1976's Rock of the Westies, and
Rocking
I
the
was
Westies.
like totally different
Yep.
from Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboys. Like
Yeah.
I was actually not impressed with that one, man.
Ex- and
Because this
it's
album was good.
it's tough to follow up. Like a lot
Yeah.
of artists have that issue where they
Mhm.
create such memorable albums and such albums that we get engulfed into and we feel the tracks, and it's so hard to follow up. And I think not to get too far off on a tangent, but I've always thought that that was Lauryn Hill's issue. Outside of her personal issues, I think that following up the Miseducation Lauryn Hill was going to be tough
Mhm.
because it was such a perfect album.
Right. Right.
And same thing with Usher's Confessions.
Hmm.
Such a perfect album. Like the build up to get to Confessions was so amazing. Like you saw the growth in Usher. Then we got to Confessions. You're like, wow, start to finish, great album.
Great album, man. And
And
like you hit it on the head, man. It's hard to it's hard to replicate a classic, man.
yep, not everybody can do it.
And I think this album shows though, man. It just it takes a whole team, man. And
Yep.
I don't know what went on behind the scenes. I don't know like if it was just like a clash of personalities or what to
Mm-hmm.
have almost like a mass exodus after putting out such a great album that you wouldn't even want to come back to try to do it again.
Right.
I guess Bernie and Elton they did their thing going forward, but without certain people that help put Captain Fantastic together,
Yeah.
man,
No,
it
seriously.
definitely showed, man, going forward, man. And I don't even honestly, man, I think 70s, 80s, 90s, and even 2000s, man, it was just pretty inconsistent, man. When you look at how well this album was
Agreed.
compared to the stuff that he came out with later on.
It was almost like he was fishing for multiple, like a new sound or multiple
Right.
sounds. Because Elton was one of those people. Is one of those people who he changes, or for a while he used to change it up. Like he went through that whole phase where he was dressed like a he had like the wig on, like the presidential wig, and like he went through that phase. He went through a phase where he wore the shiny glasses and all. Like he switched it up a lot. Which I mean, again, if you're creative, that's fine. Do the freedom is there in your music.
Mhm.
So then we go to Curtains, track 10. Now I absolutely love Curtains. Curtains is deep. It's a little dark. Um, Really good track. And it starts to bring home the album, right? When we get to Curtains,
Mhm.
definitely one of the standout tracks for me. Um, yeah, uh, yeah, Curtains. Anything on Curtains?
And man, Curtains, instant classic, man. Definitely another one of my favorites out of the album.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably put that third under
Mm-hmm.
under Tower of Babel.
Mm-hmm.
Which still says a lot, man. Because Tower of Babel, is a dope song, man. Curtains. I mean, the title alone, man. I knew it was gonna be. I knew it was one of those tracks where it's at the bottom of the track list, but it's still gonna be dope, man. And it didn't let me down, man.
Right.
But,
Then we come into your favorite, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. We already said that
mm,
was a Beatles redo. And it was, I mean, perfectly done. I mean, there's not much I can't say about Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I appreciated it. After that, we got One Day at a Time.
mhm.
Again, another John Lennon track. You could tell it's good though. I love that one too. One Day at a Time. Thoughts about that? Did that stand out to you?
It did stand out to me, man. But I I didn't even know that these were John Lennon tracks, man. So I'm gonna dig a little bit deeper and learn about more. I learn a little bit more about the background behind those, man. And like I said, I'm kind of curious as if to know if these songs were actually written. Oh well, not written, but recorded in the same place in
Right,
Colorado,
right.
like somewhere in London. John Lennon, based in London most of the time. So I'm kind of curious if it was like put together in a different location, but still made the track. Still made the album overall, man. As classic as it is even today.
Yeah. And then let's bring it home.
Mhm.
Philadelphia Freedom. Uh,
Yeah.
I think track alone gives you a sense of where they were with the music,
Yep.
because the melody, just the lyrics, it's a dance record.
Yep.
Like Elton is in his bag with a whole different like voice cadence kind of thing.
Yep.
He sounds a lot happier. Um, yeah, it's a good way to end the album because it starts off strong and like it kind of gives you the other side of Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy, right? That was
Mhm.
an experience like you felt like it was just the beginning, and then Philadelphia Freedom feels like it's like success. We're at the end, like we're here, kind of thing. And it's a really good record. It's a positive vibe. It feels good to listen to.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think this track, man, besides like someone saved my life tonight. I think Philadelphia Freedom is probably the one that like people know, and it's actually kind of it's surprising that this wasn't a single. Like you say, like
Right,
someone said,
absolutely
like, this
right.
might be the only one. So how did people? I guess
How do people
by
know Philadelphia Freedom? Because this is a big record for him.
right. So it was just like I knew, like, honestly, man, I knew of this song before someone saved my life tonight. I
Mhm.
heard this one plenty of times before. I don't know if it's just by being in this area or what, but
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy how I guess how back then, simply like word of mouth
yeah.
can kind of help, spread, songs and get those sales up, man. Today we rely on streaming, but another dope song, man. Definitely classic track.
And I'm assuming it's a favorite to play at the concerts too.
Mhm.
So I think that's another reason why I probably got such such big popularity. Also, like maybe soundtracks. Maybe some of these songs I meant to look that up if they landed on certain soundtracks. There was I found out in 2006. The Captain and the Kid was the sequel to this album, and it picks right up where it leaves off. So I haven't listened to it,
Yeah, man.
but you're talking about 2006.
Right.
I don't know if that this late in their bag if they can still put it together.
Mhm. Yeah, man. I think I'm thinking like you said, man. To come out with a sequel shows that maybe Elton John was still trying to dig at trying to recreate a
Recapture,
classic.
yeah,
And like I haven't listened to that one either, so I can't really say, but I can almost assume that it's just not the same as this one, man, because
right.
this was just an extremely well put together album, man, and without that team there, it's probably going to be missing some pieces.
Yeah. So okay, we've gone through all the songs. I just got a couple questions for you. Before we get to the rating, some and nowadays where we are with music, right? Kind of how we do the movies. Is this album? If you had to pass this album on to somebody to take a listen and tell them that is this album relatable to anybody if you pass this on to them today?
Oh yeah. I think it's definitely relatable. A lot of the things when you peel back the onion behind many of the tracks and what the meanings are behind them, I think they still resonate with many people of all spectrums of life, man. They can listen to this and kind of get through life, man. I mean, I think some of the songs in this track listing kind of says it all. Someone saved my life tonight.
Mm.
That one. I mean,
That's real. That's real.
it was real, and the title alone can help out in so many different aspects of whatever someone's going through. It doesn't have to be that same reason that Elton John, you know, and Bernie came up with the song, it could be, you can use it for other things, man. So I think it definitely still holds strong even in 2023.
Yeah, me too. I agree. I'm gonna tell you one thing. It's not even about the album. One thing that disappoints me. I'm one of those guys where I hear the studio version, and now I got to see a live performance. I got to see it put together. I want to hear it live now. I want to hear how the song transfers over in front of an audience. And for some reason, if you get the deluxe, Tower of Babel live is on it because he does the whole album live, but he does not perform Tower of Babel like in all of these years. Like there is no footage of him doing that track at any of his concerts.
Wow. Yeah, that's
And I don't
definitely
know
disappointing, man. Considering how how good a song it is that he won't perform it, or you just can't find any footage of it.
right. Right. And that hurts me because that's my favorite track on the album. But yeah, so I think it definitely relates. I think you can pass this on to somebody. And I mean, that's the whole point of doing these shows is to pass this on to somebody because these are like certain things people are going to overlook. And we're just sitting here simply trying to give people, the motivation to watch some of these movies that you may have missed or listen to some of these albums that you may not have listened to, you may overlook. A lot of people probably will overlook Elton John. It takes, especially in our race or our age, it takes a certain ear, a certain lover of music to want to dive into some of these albums. So,
Mhm.
and it took a push from my mom for me to give Elton John a chance, right?
Right.
Because you see Elton John now, and he's older. He's got the short haircut, the glasses is his thing. Like you don't see this Elton John. Like if you look at all the album covers and just the evolution from start to finish, it's a completely different Elton John. And the guy, like the music is just absolutely crazy. So, all right, let's
Oh, yeah.
let's give it the rating system. Uh, 5 to 1, 5 rings to 1 ring. 5 being the best. What are you rating Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy?
Hey, man, I'm about to give this a 5, man. I mean, like I said, man, just incredibly well written, extremely well produced. I mean, like I said, the production following this just couldn't be matched. And I think that says how well this album was. The fact that this kind of set the bar for him, and
Absolutely.
without those same key members there, things just wasn't the same. Even though he was still performing at a high level, just trying to recreate an album like this is just it's a one of a kind, man. So I would just definitely give it a 5, just based on that.
Absolutely. Hold on, I forgot. I'm not. There it is. There's
Hey,
Big
so
Mike's
there
right
it
there.
is.
5.
All right.
There you go. 5 rings. Okay. And Mike, let me tell you, I'm gonna give it the 5, just like you did. I think again, everything you said from if I can listen to an album start to finish, to me, it has to be a 5, right? Anything I can listen to from start to finish constantly, every time I listen to it, it has to be a 5. And or here we go. This is the word I want to ask you next. Is this a certified classic?
I think it is a certified classic, and you know what, man? I think certified classics, when you look at all the albums you were put into that category, man, they all kind of fit a similar, aspect as a, they just come from the heart, man. This was considered a concept album, but it told a story of Elton and Bernie, I guess, like their early years and trials and tribulations, and their eventual rise to fame and everything else that comes with it. When you create an album from the heart like that,
Yeah,
I think it has to be rated in that category, because
absolutely.
the outcome is a beautiful album that still resonates even today.
Yeah. I gotta get it on vinyl. I have to hear it how it's supposed to be heard.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely certified classic. start to finish. Just an all around solid album, production wise, lyric wise, feelers wise. Like you just go through the emotions and you can put yourself in the shoes of the artist and the writer.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, please check out Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy by Elton John, co-written by Bernie Taupin himself. And I think that's it. Look, we see you guys next time, next movie, next album review, whatever it is. Hope you guys tune in. We appreciate you for watching. Peace.
Right.